Very good morning, children. Today, I welcome all of you to this video session related to the third chapter in Indian economics, economic reforms since 1991. In my previous module, I have explained about the different reforms they have introduced, and this is such a reform related to industries, that is, industrial policies. Industrial policy consists of a philosophy to determine the pattern of industrial development of a country, procedures, principles, rules, and regulations for the control of the industries also. The government announced a new industrial policy on July 24, 1991, in line with the liberalization measures taken during the 80s. It marks a sharp departure from the earlier policy resolutions. The basic philosophy of the new policy has been summed up as continuity with change, and several objectives are also behind this new industrial policy. And as an introduction, let me explain again what is the process of industrialization. Industrialization I have explained in my previous modules, but still I am explaining once again. Industrialization means it is a social and economic development of industry on a large scale based on the increased production of goods and services. It is a process of moving from people making their own things to the use of the factories. Before, the people used to produce with the hands, and after that, through the process of industrialization, they have shifted completely from the handmade products to the factory made products or the machine made products also. And in this video, just we can see all these contents: introduction, objectives, highlights of these policies, and the areas these industrial policies covered, their merits and their limitations also. And if we analyze these different industrial policies, we can just overview a fact that all these industrial policies aimed to boost up the target of the production. And industry has played a central role in India's developmental effort. Industry has enjoyed a special position as a sector that would lead India into the modern world. It reduces economic dependence on other countries and generate other income needed to eliminate the poverty also. So, after the process of this industrialization, what happened? That is, it reduces the economic dependence on other countries and generate other income needed to eliminate the poverty also. After the process of industrialization, we became self-reliant in several aspects. And what is this meaning of the industrial policy? The crux of the industrial policy means the rules, the regulations, the principles, the policies and the procedures laid down by the government for regulating, developing and controlling the industrial undertakings in the country. It prescribes the respective roles of the public, private, joint and cooperative sectors for the development of the industries. And large scale industries are there, medium scale industries and small scale industries also there. And several policies like fiscal policy, monetary policy, tariff policy, labor policy and their attitude towards foreign capital and role to be played by the multinational corporations in the development of the industrial sector. So if we hear about the industrial policy means, what is industrial policy? That it is full of policies, procedures, principles, rules and the regulations for the control of the industries. And before, Jawaharlal Nehru laid the foundations of modern India. And the goals and the objectives set out for the nation by the Nehru, we can see as points here. What are they? The first one, they gave more importance to agriculture and the industrial development of our country. Second point is the rapid expansion of the opportunities for the gainful employment. Third is progressive reduction of social and economic disparities. So these are the major objectives laid down by the Nehru. And through the different industrial policy resolutions we are able to achieve such objectives also. And in the 1991 industrial policy, we can see here the different objectives are also mentioned here. Which are the different objectives? First one is self-reliance. Second one is encouragement to Indian entrepreneurship. Third one is removing the regulatory system and other weakness. Increasing the competitiveness of industries for the benefit of the common man and enhanced support to the small scale sector. So the first priority they gave to self-reliance. And next one is the encouragement to Indian entrepreneurship. That is not foreign entrepreneurship, encouragement to the Indian entrepreneurship and promotion of productivity and employment generations in our country. And all the regulations, rules, restrictions they have removed completely. For what? To increase the competitiveness of the industries. If we are imposing more and more restrictions upon our industries, no foreign investments will be made in such industries, and we cannot bring competition, or we cannot induce competition and boost up our production also. So the next one is they abolish the monopoly of any sector in any field of manufacture except on strategic or security grounds. To link Indian economy to the global market so that we can acquire the ability to pay for imports and to make us less dependent on aid. So only that they abolish the monopoly of any sector in any field of manufacture. The entire monopoly they have kept upon only the strategic or security grounds. That is, that government has entire monopoly only upon the strategic industries, and all other industries they have completely left the private sectors. And the next one is incentive for the industrialization of the backward areas. So what they did, they have concentrated more upon the backward areas. They have find out which are the backward areas, and they gave more incentives for such areas also to promote or to improve the industrialization process also, and ensure the running of public sector undertakings on business lines and cut their losses. And the development of indigenous technology through greater investments in research and development, and bringing in new technology to help Indian manufacture units attain world standards. And the last one is protect the interest of the workers. So here all we can see that welfare oriented, they have concentrated more on the welfare oriented one. That is that we can see the backward areas concentrating upon them, and the public sector undertakings which is more concentrated for the welfare, and such all the things they have did for the improvement of the welfare also. Next we can see which are the areas of the industrial policies by the government. First one is industrial licensing policies. Second one, foreign investment. Third one, foreign technology agreements. Fourth one, public sector policy. And fifth one is MRTP Act. So these are the various areas where the industrial policies the government has adopted various licenses regarding restrictions as well as the technology agreements and the policies related to the different public sectors, and as well as this Monopoly and Restrictive Trade Practices Act. And now we can see which are the highlights of 1991 policy. The first one is de-reservation of industries for the public sector. That is, before what all public sector areas they have reserved, all that areas they have de-reserved, and it has given the shares to the private sector also. And the second one, in the same manner, de-licensing. What is that? Before, the licenses only given for the public sectors, they are now entirely that licenses they have removed, and that the private sector also they have included in such fields. Next is abolition of phased manufacturing program. That means that is different through different phases the manufacturing programs was implemented, and now that phases, that abolition of such phases in that manufacturing programs also. And the removal of mandatory convertibility clause. Before, which all compulsions were there, they removed all such compulsions. Then amendment of monopolies, restrictive trade practices also. Because before were all, that is, monopolies were there in certain sectors. That entire monopolies they have removed from that areas also. And so these are the various highlights. And the last two one, that is encouragement to foreign investment. Before, the investment was completely restricted for the outsiders in our domestic ventures. But after the introduction of this 1991 policy only, the foreigners they can invest in our domestic ventures. And the last one is the change of policy in small scale industries. So the small scale industries also several policies that changes that they have adopted in the small scale industries. So these are the various highlights of the 1991 policies. So the first one is the de-reservation of the industries for the public sector, de-licensing, and that is before what all things they have reserved entirely for the public sector, or what are the licenses given only for the public sector, now they have eliminated or de-reserved and given to the private sectors also, and thereby we can promote both welfare as well as we can induce competition, and thereby we can increase the productivity and the production targets also. And next we can see what are the merits of the industrial policy 1991. So after the invitation of these foreigners in our ventures, what happened? Our industries become more and more competitive. And the second one is the freedom to the entrepreneurs. Third one, liberalization. Fourth one is performance of government undertaking. And next one is integration with the world economy. And last one is open the economy. So these are the merits of the industrial policy. The entire freedom was given for our entrepreneurs and completely liberalized. All the licenses they have removed, and what all the restrictions they have imposed, all these restrictions they have removed, and entirely it was liberalized. And next one is performance of the government undertaking. What happened to that? That before what all industries were running under losses, after this participation, private sector's participation, we can promote the functioning of these industries also, public sector industries also. But certain limitations are also there related to this industrial policy. There no priority to backward area, no solutions for the sickness of the industries, reduction in the expected foreign investment, surrender to IMF, offloading of 20% equity in profit making. So what is this? So first they gave more priority to the metropolitan areas, that is backward areas they have ignored, and no solution for the sickness of the industries. That is, even we have participated these private sectors, there is not much improvement in the sickness of the industries. Sickness means those industries which are running under losses. And the reduction in the expected foreign investment. That means we have invited these foreigners, but only we can see the less investment by the foreigners in our domestic ventures also. So these are the several restrictions and limitations regarding our industrial policies. So I hope you have understood regarding the industrial policy resolutions of 1991, and after this introduction of this new industrial policy that brought a drastic changes in the industrial production and industrial that productivity also, because before which all sectors were running under losses, now it was completely left for the private sectors, and that is strategic industries they have kept under the public sector, and the other priority industries they are given to the private sectors. So both we can improve the economic welfare as well as economic development, and thereby we can ensure the economic growth in our country. So thank you children for watching this video.